Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the 7th edition of Harris County Universal Services Tech Talk. I'm Rick Noriega, the Executive Director, and today what I'd like to do is I'd like to dedicate this particular edition of Tech Talk to our over 500 employees at Universal Services who every day, 24/7, dedicate their efforts to making this county run. What made me think of it was this morning as I walked into the office through the parking lot, I ran into Fisher, one of our employees who came off of night shift of camera viewing through the evening, and he was sharing with me his job, how much he loves what he does, and about his family and children. And so as I begin this program, what I'd like to do first is give a shout out to our incredible production team now that we're in our 7th show. And so it allows me to recognize Robert Timmons, Adam Ballantyne, Robert Lee, Chi Chan, and Carla Hulsey, our communications manager, and then of course, who works for Lucy Ortega in our shop. So with that, I'm going to pivot to today highlight a new part of our team, a real gem to our team and our efforts moving forward, and that is Sindhu Menon. Now, Sindhu and I first got to know each other in January earlier this year through the interview process, and so today we get to introduce her to everyone as our CIO for Universal Services. So welcome, Sindhu.
Thank you, sir.
So why don't you just real quickly, who is Sindhu Menon? Give us a little bit background about yourself and tell us about yourself.
Sure. I am a technologist and I am a mom of 2 kids. I have a dog and I enjoy him quite a bit. So that's just the summary. I have now getting into the professional side with over 22 years of experience in the information technology in various roles. I mean, almost all the roles I have had hands-on experience in it. And out of those 22 years, I'm very proud to say that more than 15 have been in public sector.
Yeah.
I have led extremely complex services from a technology perspective and also made some changes. So I feel really honored to have been offered this position to serve Harris County.
Well, thank you. Well, what was real impressive through the interview process for me and our team, back to your point of having served in various roles, of course, an amazing educational background in the area of computer science, also an MBA from UT Dallas, which is a phenomenal school. But you've had the roles of a chief technology officer, you've had the role of a chief data officer, and most recently, as a CIO, which was impressive, you've been in a small local government, Bryan College Station. We stole you away and got you back home to God's country from Raleigh, North Carolina, most recently. And I didn't mention the city of Houston, but why don't you talk to a little bit about your experiences in those roles as a technologist, and how those skill sets now fit in with what we're doing in Harris County, and how you see similarities and areas that we're going to improve and so forth under your leadership.
Absolutely. So as you mentioned, you've talked about the experiences in the United States. So I have traveled quite a bit and worked in multiple countries. So my first exposure to public sector was with the central bank at United Arab Emirates. So as a part of a team that developed the country's first credit scoring system. So that was kind of my first exposure, and I was very much motivated to continue working for public sector, but then we moved to Canada as a consultant, working for another financial sector in the insurance industry, where I had an opportunity to work on the country's first, or the company's first universal life, online universal life product. So I've been blessed that I had a lot of unique opportunities to make a difference. And following that, I joined the largest province in Ontario, in Canada, called Ontario, Government of Ontario, as a lead developer for one of the most complex projects, which was consolidation of the financial systems across the various organizations. That was a very complex project, tight deadlines, and highly visible. So that was my first real public sector complex, project in the financial sector, again, dealing with the finances and how do you bring the tax systems together. I moved up to serve the Justice Technology Cluster in the Government of Ontario as an enterprise architect, which helped modernize. My goal was to help the organization modernize their justice technology, which included the systems that were being used, which included the infrastructure, which included planning for future.
Well, that parallels a lot with what you've parachuted into here at Harris County too.
Yes, so that's the reason why I wanted to bring up that experience. Moving on, my first job in United States was with the City of Dallas, where I served as the primary technology person serving in the IT department, but serving the Dallas water utilities. So Dallas water utilities, as you would know, is extremely complex. Again, they have unique circumstances where we needed to make sure that the infrastructure was functioning, we had the capability to fail over and keep the services running. So that was my experience with Dallas. And then moving to Houston, I served as their assistant director over the enterprise resource SAP, the platform,
Sure.
Their ERP product, as well as for their timekeeping and the financial applications. I was also, in the year 2016, I was also made responsible for the data practice.
Yeah, so in that role, you were as well, I noticed you were the acting chief data officer.
Yes.
For the city of Houston.
Yes.
Very big role there.
Yes. It was not an acting position. It was the chief data officer for the city of Houston.
Mm-hmm.
And in that role, I stood up the open data portal for the city and also was responsible for doing the data classification as well as the governance structure to build the data practice at the city of Houston.
Well, as you know, and we've talked about, I mean, we're right at a decisive time in Harris County with the mega data that we deal with as a county, and why that experience is just going to be so critical moving forward here in Harris County. So first 100 days. Well, let me back up a little bit. Well, yeah, let's just go ahead. First 100 days. What do you see as your vision and your to-do list, or the low-hanging fruit, if you will, of how you see being successful your first 100 days?
Sure. Great question, sir, for a new CIO. But I would like to just finish up that journey with City of College Station and City of Raleigh.
Please.
Because my colleagues in City of College Station and City of Raleigh, if they see this and I don't mention them, it may not be fair.
Absolutely, and we may want to recruit some of them.
So City of College Station, again, an opportunity to serve as a CIO. Some of the changes that I was able to make there, including, again, building a governance structure for whole technology initiatives, community engagement platforms, and also under my leadership, I feel good about it. We were able to conduct a Code Fest, which was another one way of technology teams engaging with the community. I also got engaged with the broadband initiatives there, which I carried through to my position in Raleigh. So moving on to Raleigh, I had a very short time there, which, however, I was able to make some changes. For example, we were able to move forward with one of the projects, which is, again, community engagement, and our CRM product for the city of Raleigh. I was also able to bring in the data governance as well as the overall technology governance into the organization, and also build a lot of collaboration between IT and internal customers, which were the departments, as well as external customers such as university, NC State University, and the state of North Carolina, the county and the city. So there was a lot of public-private collaborations, also the innovation hubs. You know, that was a great success. We were able to conduct the Connected Communities Conference in the month of December, and we had good participations there.
Well, all of those experiences is why you were so attractive of where we are at this point in time, and understanding our role, Universal Services, as more of a general services department that interconnects every department throughout the county, and to include those other support and service support functions such as fleet, such as public safety radio, such as parking, and others potentially to come, that having a CIO at this time in our history was absolutely critical. With all of the hot topics that you've mentioned, data, data governance, building a true enterprise in our vision of a smart county, and connecting these departments and using data in an effective way for our bosses and our policymakers. First 100-day goals.
So first 100-day goals. So as you know, I jumped straight into the fire.
Yes.
So prior to the fire happening, my first...
Well, what's the fire?
The JWeb outage and the remediation measures required as a result of that JWeb outage. That's the fire I'm referring to.
Sure.
So first 100 days goal, primarily the goals for me is to understand my team. You know, I am a people's person, so I like to meet with my team members, all the great folk, all the good folks that you described earlier. And again, they do. Departments feel they can work with us, right? And also the practice of having the business relationships managers to understand what are key pain points from the departments, and how do we strategize on how do we build our services around that. So understanding the visions of our customers and ensuring our services are able to deliver to those is my long term. When I say long term, I mean a year or so.
Sure. So with all of that, you just described something that was very well, you know, the awareness of the county and whatnot, what keeps you up at night. And so within the first week of your arrival, we have a major outage at JWeb. And so talk a little bit about where we are in the root cause analysis with the outage that occurred on March the 24th. Well,
the first draft, and I provided an update to the Commissioner's Code in the last meeting.
Right.
The first draft is ready. We want to make sure that experts have looked at that draft and said, okay, we have covered all the sections that needed to be covered, and the information is ready to be shared with our partners. So
and we have a meeting with our stakeholders next week to be able to share that information and work with them to meet the court's directive of a 30-day response, and bring that to the court to share with them. Of course, there's going to be more work post root cause analysis, but all those things obviously are to make us better. Both as a department and as a county, and helping to make other departments better too, hopefully.
Agreed.
Yes. So what else can you share with us that you see as very critical areas for your expertise to focus on long-term, strategically?
So a few areas that comes to mind. I mean, this is based upon the brief 4 weeks that I've been here. Stabilization of our infrastructure. That is, when I say infrastructure, I mean both applications as well as the hardware component to it. So stabilization of that, building collaboration with our partner departments. So ensuring that we have a transparency across the board. That's the other one. Evaluating the architecture and ensuring that we are using the optimal architecture, which includes cloud strategy.
Yes.
So disaster recovery, cloud strategy, all of those. Data practice is another one of the areas which I'm very interested in. So trying to build the data governance structure, and there are some of the key projects that are highly visible, which I would be engaged in very closely.
Yeah. And let me remind everybody, we're going to take questions as we typically do with each of our editions. So please start sending your questions forward. I'm going to get to those in just a few minutes as Sindhu continues to share with us your vision and goals within the next 100 days and so forth. Biggest surprises since your arrival over the last 4 weeks?
The biggest surprise has been JWeb. So yeah, that was, so I've been very much engaged in creating not just the root cause analysis, but also looking at what can be done so that we don't have an incident of this scale in the future. I mean, how can we successfully fail over? How can we successfully recover? And what is our disaster recovery strategy? Cybersecurity is another area where I'm very closely engaged. And what keeps me awake are ensuring the stability and safety of our infrastructure, addressing the risk.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we've had a lot of conversations about that, and I'm glad that we're going to, as a colleague, James Henderson says, we're snapping the chalk line on where we are right now in terms of our cybersecurity assessment, getting another look at where we are today, where there may be gaps, what things we need to improve on, and so forth is a big piece of work, as well as what you shared on the JWeb side, which is absolutely critical right now. And so in both of those lanes, I think sometimes what's some of our friends may not be aware of, JWeb is being as critical as it is, it's also one of approximately how many applications that we oversee throughout the county?
Well, we in our portfolio, we have more than 430 applications that we oversee. And also we are now, there are other initiatives which are in progress, so the portfolio keeps increasing. Right.
And so, we're going to work on something too to share with our friends throughout the county, the unfortunate JWeb incident, but all of the different products and tools and whatnot the team has worked on in the e-space. I'll just call it the e-space for lack of a better term. So many different projects that have been successfully completed that we really want to pat our team on the back for. Anything else you'd like to share just that we need to know about either yourself or your vision or your goals moving forward?
So I would like to add that customer service is on top of my list, along with building that strong partnerships which can take the county forward, not just from an internal perspective, but like I mentioned, broadband, the data transparency, a lot of those initiatives are pretty close to my heart.
Okay, so can we start with, I'm going to ask the production team here. Are we ready to start with questions? Okay, sounds good. We'll see. Here's the first one up. So is replacing JWeb on the table as an option, not user-friendly for a modern system? This is what a particular question is. Is replacing JWeb on the table as an option moving forward?
Well, there are multiple options on the table. Again, the users of the JWeb have a very, they kind of help us make those decisions. So I would say that everything is on the table, and we will have discussions with our end users to come up with what is the right answer for that.
What have you been most impressed with within this Universal Services Department space in the county since your arrival?
People. I've been very impressed with the desire to serve, and I have seen the commitment that the people have on their job. So I've been very impressed by that.
Okay. Are computer glitches common for an application such as JWeb?
Well, computer glitch, that terminology, right? Systems break. So there are incidents that happen. It is all how quickly we recover. So,
Yes.
So to answer that question, yes, incidents happen.
Yeah, I notice on our resource utilization tasks, I mean, we're always working on several hundred tasks, either for break fix or for enhancements constantly. I mean, that is just a constant piece of our workload and the hours that go in human resources and that. Harris County Lens and the Harris County District Attorney's Office applications are amazing relative to JWeb. I think that's more of a, not a question, it's a comment. Is there a cybersecurity insurance policy in place for the county?
So the insurance policy is in works.
In the works.
Yeah, because it is insurance policies for cyber, as people may know, is an annual effort. So we are getting into that.
We've had discussions about that moving forward. Other than JWeb, what do you see as the biggest challenge for you this year?
Having a strong org structure, I would say that is something which I would be very interested in firming it up. And yeah, I think that's where I would start with the people. And 4 months into the job, 4 weeks into the job, I think my primary focus is evaluation right now.
Sure.
To come up with an answer for that question.
Sure, absolutely. Absolutely. So as I'm waiting on some other questions from our team, here we go. How much involvement will cybersecurity have in day-to-day activities for the county?
So that's an interesting question, because I think cybersecurity is involved in day-to-day operations every day, every minute.
24/7. The number of attacks that we see, probes, etc. Oh, which is a good place to segue real quick. Everyone, please remember that we collectively as a county have to complete our cyber awareness training before the end of June. Before the end of June. I know our department right now, we were last reported we're plus 70% for our employees. But the first line of defense in cybersecurity is the 18,000 employees throughout the county. Every time we turn our computer on or any of our devices that are connected to our system, everyone in this county is a cyber warrior.
Yes.
And that is the message, and that we want to make sure to get out to all of our friends there. Let's see what else we have here. Do you see yourself having a bigger role in data governance?
Well, as a Chief Information Officer, definitely, because data, counties and the local government is rich with data. So there are multiple aspects of data, such as classification, that would address, and the governance structure that would address the overall practice. What data gets put out, how is it used, and how do we build intelligence out of it? So definitely, I do see myself.
Well, and in fact, and we discussed yesterday, Sindhu is going to be working hand in glove with our friends and partners at Public Health on a really great initiative program that we're working together in, which is the Access program that Ms. Barbie Robinson and her team is leading, and we're working hand in glove with them to make it a great success for Harris County. We're very excited about that project moving forward, by the way. So I think that's kind of a microcosm of what we're talking about, more involvement on the data and data governance side. Here's one. Your thoughts on centralization as opposed to distributed development teams across the county?
That's an interesting question too. And the reason I say that interesting is because there's not one size that fits all. So I'm a firm believer of using technology for effective, what is an effective and efficient way for us to operate. So the answer is somewhere in the middle.
Is a backup in place today in case there is another issue like what happened with JWeb?
Yes, we have backup processes in place, and we have, and those backups happen, on a regular basis per schedule. So the backups have not failed. It is what we are looking at is what made us take so much time to recover, and I would like to make sure that those issues are kept separate because backups are happening.
Mm-hmm.
And they're happening on a regular basis.
Yeah, and and like myself, I've been through multiple iterations from 9/11 to Ike to Harvey to board. I mean, in terms of emergency management, the emergency response and management capability, like our friends Mark Sloan and his team does. What for the purposes of continuity operations, I mean, we've put a lot of work into it. JWeb's going to help us improve our plan here at Universal Services, and I think too, to this question, it's going to allow our partners as well to do a little self-reflection and how they might enhance their emergency management response so we can all get better together. How would you approach merging new employee skills with legacy employee institutional knowledge? We talked a little bit about this, about best practices in the development side, that you don't have just one person doing the same thing for 20 years, therefore, and that person gets hit by a bus, God forbid, but then we're at a loss, right? So you want to speak a little bit to that question?
Yes. So the new employees bring new perspective, and the older employees understand they have the legacy knowledge that's needed for us to maintain and make the system better. So having both of those skills together and cross-training each other helps us take the county to the next level when it comes to the technology services.
Outstanding. Okay, as we're waiting for our next question here, lately the compliance and governance process has become a time-consuming process, leading to delays in starting some projects. Is there a plan to streamline it? I do want to mention something about this, and I want our friends to understand. From 2016 to 2020, when I arrived, Harris County Universal Services on the development side and on the customer service side, we averaged 25 contractors that supported Universal Services on the development side, etc. Today we have 2. So I think that is a variable and potentially in terms of streamlining. The other is that we've become more deliberate about how projects synchronize into an overarching enterprise so that there aren't duplication of applications. You know how many CRM applications we have in the county right now of the plus 400? Exactly, we don't know.
Yeah.
We have so many. So that's some of the part, but I'll let you answer, please, because this is near and dear to my heart.
Sure, and I see that, based upon how you took that question. But to answer this question straight, it should not be a time-consuming process, and we, from Universal Services perspective and technology services in particular, I am a very strong proponent of being agile. However, we also need to make sure that the risks are addressed as well as we are keeping our technology assets safe. So that is where you would see probably the team needs more time to analyze and work with the customers so that they can understand that all the risks have been addressed and all the compliance needs have been addressed prior to approving. Now, can we make it agile? probably we can have continuous improvements in there. So I would be very interested in going and evaluating that process as well.
Okay, we got some really great questions here. What's your opinion? I'll take this on disaster recovery practices because I'm certified multiple times and y'all paid lots of money through taxpayers' dollars to have me trained. Disaster recovery, we never arrive. We're always improving our position, and each incident allows us to sharpen our sword in this space, and we got to continue to communicate and get better. Any plan to move cloud computing for JWeb, and make it a 7/24 without stoppage?
So it is a 24/7 system.
Okay.
So that addresses the 24/7 system question. The other part of the question as to any plans of moving JWeb to the cloud, we are evaluating all the options. Mm-hmm. So it's not a yes or no. We have to look at what impacts it would have on our customers and you know, put all the parameters in front of us before we make a decision.
PeopleSoft is part of our portfolio, yes. If so, do you anticipate developing a network of resources for end users who want or need further training? You want to talk about the training program we
Yes.
talked about at STARS committee yesterday.
Yes. So there is a training program in place, and I will make sure that in the next newsletter we send out that information again. So yes, some of the users may have received that training alerts, maybe not everyone. So we'll make sure it is communicated to everyone.
Can we approach you directly if there is an unnatural drag in approval from your team on licensing and security infrastructure updates to US hosted systems?
Yes.
Okay. And real quickly, if any questions aren't answered here, they're going to be passed over to Sindhu, and we're going to make sure and post those answers to the questions that have been provided to us. We've had a lot of great questions here this morning. Okay. Any idea who the Houston Texans are going to draft today in the NFL draft?
That is the most difficult question among everything that came forward today. And yeah. I don't have an answer for that.
Okay, it's an offensive lineman, North Carolina. This has been a very, very informative, and there are a lot more questions that we have to answer for our friends out there. But today, again, in tribute to our amazing employees, I want to thank everybody for joining us on the 7th edition of Tech Talk. I want to thank Sindhu, our new CIO for Harris County, and everyone who joined us today. And we look forward. Next edition will be with Dwight Dopsloff from Purchasing, who will join us. And so we look forward to seeing you again on the next Tech Talk. Thank you very much.
Thank you.